At a time when there is so much unrest around the world between the war in the Middle East, Russia's illegal war against Ukraine, and even this country accusing the Indian government of an assassination, we need strong leadership on foreign affairs. But are Canadians being served well by the current minister, Melanie Joly, who I can only describe as either incompetent or ill-informed, perhaps worse, both? Hello, I'm Adrienne Batra. With me are Lilley and Warren Kinsella. I know I'm not being particularly charitable, Warren, but it is becoming increasingly obvious to not only just me, but many around this country and frankly, even around the world, that Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister is not up to the task, and she does a very little service to Canadians. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. In fact, you are being nice to her. This is the woman who didn't use the word Jew on the Holocaust Memorial plaque. This is the woman who built a hockey rink on Parliament Hill that was possibly the most expensive hockey rink in Canadian history. And this is the woman who's dropping the ball on the Israel-Hamas conflict at a time where we can ill afford to do that, at a time when Canada's credibility around the world is at an all-time low. She is a disaster. And I'd love to be able to tell you guys actually what she has to say on social media, but this is a tell. She blocks me and has blocked me on social media for years. She, who ultimately is our employee, is blocking me on social media so I can't read what she says and report on it. She is a disaster. She needs to go, but unfortunately, she's obviously quite close to Justin Trudeau.
Brian, this has been sort of a slow burn with Joly. Take your issue. There seems to be, as I said, like a level of perhaps incompetence that either she doesn't understand it, or she's not willing to talk about it, or she hasn't been informed about it. Most recently, she was questioned by the media about what information, what evidence, specifically evidence, was shared with the Indian government prior to Justin Trudeau standing up in the House and making the accusations against the Indian government about the assassination on Canadian soil. She couldn't answer that question. She said that there were conversations, but it wasn't about what evidence did you show. And then I just want to play this clip of Conservative MP Michael Chong in the House asking her questions with respect to Israel.
Will the government clearly state that the Israel Defense Forces and the State of Israel were not responsible for the explosion at the hospital in Gaza on Tuesday?
Canada and its allies are working to determine exactly what happened, and Canadians deserve answers.
Brian, she has let that tweet remain out there that it was Israel that perpetrated the explosion at the hospital when it has been demonstrably proven that it was not.
Well, she's left the tweet up in that answer that you just heard. Do you know what she said? She put out a bunch of words, but there's no content there. And that is unfortunately far too often the case with this government. They are campaigners. They're not a government. You know, they don't govern, they campaign. Everything is about campaigning to get votes, campaigning to get support. At a time like this, that's not what we need. What we need is good, solid governance. We need someone that can represent Canada well on the world stage. I think I remember why she blocked Warren Kinsella all those years ago. I think, Warren, you may have written a column back when she was Heritage Minister that she's the worst minister in Canadian history. And she got demoted after that. And now she's back up into a very important position that she is ill-equipped for. But, you know, as you said, she's very close to the Prime Minister, and that seems to be what counts, not competence. And unfortunately, Joly should not be in this position. But, you know, how do you sit there and say, well, it's not about the evidence on the India file, when it's clearly about the evidence? Did you show them evidence or not? If you can't answer that, what are we doing making the accusation?
Warren, there was a time in a previous incarnation of your life when you were sitting around those cabinet tables, you were working for former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien, you were in very serious conversations and discussions about hot issues going around on in the world, maybe perhaps not to the degree that we're seeing right now, but certainly issues of contention. I'm wondering from your perspective, when you hear her, when you listen to or what she doesn't say, perhaps, what should Canadians be taking away from that? What should she be projecting to us, especially at this time when we have so much unrest and Canadians feel uneasy? We saw the U.S. government issue a global alert on travel, to be on high alert. Canadians aren't getting anything in terms of that type of leadership.
No, we're not. And, I think the reality is, and we all know it, we are a smaller country. We're not a superpower. We don't have a ton of clout at the diplomatic level, at the military level, at the international level. We don't. So what we have to offer, and we have in the past, under my former boss, Chrétien, under Stephen Harper, under Mulroney, you have a voice. You have a voice of credibility. You have experience. You have some wisdom. And all three of those men were consulted by other world leaders, not because we had a big army to share with them, but because they valued our insight and they valued our perspective.
Mm-hmm.
That is clearly no longer happening anymore with Justin Trudeau. There are multiple intelligence and military exercises happening now all the time involving our allies, the Americans and the Brits and the French, and they're excluding us and having us sit at the small kids table, as I put it. And it is so embarrassing, and it really becomes evident at times like this when Canada actually would have a role to play to assist in post-war Palestine or assisting Israel or what have you. We do have a role to play, but we're not playing it, and the reason is Justin Trudeau.
Brian, last word to you. I want to go back to the bombing, the hospital explosion.
Mhm.
When Israel took the time and said, we are going to see what happened here, we're going to investigate. Of course, Hamas is going to claim that it was Israel, but why so many people took a terrorist organization, a murderous thugs, over the word of Israel from the onset is beyond me. But aside from that, I want to talk about that tweet, and we're going to show it. It's on your screen right now. She has left this up there. And the reason why this causes so much consternation is because Canadians, for the most part, want to stand with Israel. We want to back Israel and their just war against the elimination of Hamas. Canada's foreign affairs minister does set a tone. She leaves that there. She doesn't say in anywhere and does not condemn Hamas. Why?
I think the Globe and Mail had it right the other day. It's a divided caucus. It is a caucus that is split, and the Prime Minister, instead of trying to lead on principle, is trying to lead on keeping his caucus happy, trying to keep various factions with the Liberal Party happy. I defended him when he first made the comments about the hospital, because all he said was that bombing a hospital is wrong. I think we can all agree on that. He did not say it was Israel, but then CBC put out the headline. The Star put out the headline saying that Trudeau had said it was Israel. They didn't retract. The PMO obviously wasn't asking for a correction. And then you had these tweets by Joly, by Francois-Philippe Champagne and others that set a tone that said, no, we're leaning in on the Israel thing. And then Trudeau on Thursday was asked why he wasn't accepting the evidence of Israel, the European Union, of India, of the United States, of independent, non-connected, non-partisan experts. And he just said, we have to get this right, and then talked about division among communities in Canada. So he's more worried about diaspora politics within his own caucus and inside Canada than he is in doing what's right. And that is truly shameful. And it's one of the reasons that we're at the little kids table and not being asked for sage advice anymore. There's none for Canada to give under this leader.
Well, let's hope Canadians remember this particular event when they see the super spreaders of disinformation come straight from our government. Well, let us know what you think in the comments below, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and go to theTorontoSun.com and hit subscribe. You're going to find coverage on stories like this and others you will not find anywhere else.